Hello and welcome to Flory Models kit review, or product review time I should say. Today we've got Real Colours marker pens. Now this is something that has been spoken about and whispered about for some time, and finally managed to get my hands on an actual set. So before we go on to this, a lot of you know I have been using for many years now the Posca pens, and I've got quite a few. This isn't all of them. I've got a drawer full over there. The thing is I used to love about them, and I do love about them, is that you can literally use them on anything. They go on glass, they go on plastic, they go on fabric, you know, and everything in between. And that was a nice thing to them. They're a really strong acrylic color and they're just great. So I've been using them for detailing interiors of cockpits, wheel wells, things like that, anything just for drawing on for years now. And I've been highly recommending them all the way through. The big thing, as I always used to say, wouldn't it be great if someone did them in military colors? So I'm not saying I can claim anything to be sort of, you know, influencing certain people for this, but I have been saying it for a while. And then lo and behold, Real Colours have come out with a marker set. So this was when I got really excited, because this opens up a lot more possibilities, i.e. the entire insides of things, anything in these detail areas, and in theory, even exterior areas on models as well, if you have the correct colours. And lo and behold, AK have brought them out. So as you can see, I've got the full set. Now it does come as singles. You can buy them just each individual pen. They come in sets of 3 for sort of weathering ones and everything in between. So again, it's up to you which way you want to go about it. It's not cheap, I'm just going to say that, but once I'm hoping it'll be a one and done type thing for this. Now what I love about this is the packaging, because it's quite simple. There's not a lot to this, but it's a little bit like an iPhone unboxing, because you've got here is a flap, and under here, which is magnetic, you have the box, all right, with them in. So down in here, we've got a little sheet with all the colours in the range as we speak, all right. At the time of doing this now, this is what, the 5th of September 2004, who knows? Hopefully, and it'll be my thing at the end of this, they're going to extend their range, all right. But what you're doing is greeted by a very nice unboxing down in here, and it is dual layered, if I can get a layer out. So you've got 2 layers of all the colours just like this. All right, so you've got them all in here of whichever one you want to do. And again, you've got a real nice selection of colours, although I will say it's a little bit limited. So what we've got up here, we'll start across. We've got rubber black, we've got an off-white, we've got a signal red, we've got a yellow, all right. We've got an orange, then we've got a blue, sort of a blue RAL, they call that one, a 5001. We've got a brown, we've got a buff, we've got a deck tan, we've got an aluminium, we've got a dark aluminium, we've got a wood base, we've got a chipping colour, we've got basically this one here, which is like an ivory color. We've got an olive, and obviously this is the German one, so it's a grün. All right, and then obviously we've got the light grey. We've got over here the RLL 702. All right, and then down below here we've got a lot more of them as well. So we've got a lot of the browns, we've got olives, we've got interior colors, we've got a lot of RLM. Now what I will say off the bat with these, as you can see, you do have down the bottom here and some at the top. These are obviously for German markings, so they've got German markings on them. Then we've got some US ones, and then we're back to German. We've got a British color as well, and then obviously down in here we've got some of the other ones here. I do believe there's Japanese, and again right the way through we've got a Russian interior color, gunmetals and that. So standard type of colors, you've basically got like a rubber black for doing your tires, you've got an off-white, you've got your signal type reds and all the rest of it. But again, even the reds down in here, technically these are using the RAL colors. So the red is 3020, the yellow is 1003, and the orange is 2004. Is that? Yep. All right, and then the blue is RLL 5001. All right, so you've got all of these ones do tend to be very much German influenced, as you can see right the way through over. We do have some sort of standard type colors like the buff, a deck tan, an aluminium, a dark aluminium as well, a wood base, and that chipping color. All right, then after that you go back to doing sort of German colors again. So these are our RAL numbers: 1001, RAL 6003, we've got a RAL 7009, and then we've got one over here which is the RAL 7021. And then we've got 7028, we've got 8012, we've got 8017, and then obviously you're going to be moving over to the US colors, so it hasn't got them on the olive drab, but it does have it down in here for the interior green with an FS number. of 34151. All right, and then we've got an interior green as well. Doesn't really give a number for that one. And then obviously we've got this one for a growl down in here from around about for an RLM 02, the 1938 version. It does get a little bit complicated, and as I said, the shame really is that there isn't much as in modern colours. All right, so what we've got down in here is certainly not nice colours, but these do tend to be your sort of standard sort of a lot of German colours and just a few English. What I was hoping for is some nice greys, like all of this in this box and all together. We don't just get a nice grey, even like a neutral grey would have been quite handy for doing things. There's none of that down in here. So I'm really, really hopeful, in fact, I'm begging that they do come out with some more colours, which are going to complete the range a little bit more, because this is very, very heavily influenced World War II German. All right, so hopefully we will see perhaps a little bit more of a modern set, or modern colours going to be added to the range as we make our way on. Anyway, so if we just pick out a black and a white just for the moment. All right, so down in here you've got that standard pen type things right the way through. So the first thing really to look at is obviously what it is. So it's an acrylic basically marker for modelling. These are matte finish, fast drying, and they're waterproof once dry. All right, the tip itself, you only get one, because I know some people will talk about the other version. It's got a tip on the end of it. Now the tip itself is, and I'm going to horribly screw up the camera by doing this, is really nice and soft. And again, it's got really nice sort of strokes to it, and this is on very shiny, as you can see, glossy plastic card, and you can see just how well this covers. It's got really, really good coverage all the way through. And this is on a shiny surface. If you put it on a painted surface, to be honest, it's even better. It works very, very nicely. All right. And again, fast drying, you can probably see over here as well. It's going to dry literally in front of your eyes. It is that good. All right. Smell, there's nothing, literally nothing to these at all. It doesn't smell like a Sharpie, because a Sharpie is enamel based and all the rest of it. All right, so yeah, it is. And as you can see, it's drying now very, very flat in color. So that's about it. So if we pick up now something like perhaps like a rubber black, we can see the differences. So as you can see, it's a lot more of a gray color, the actual rubber black. And I know this is going to be camera specific and it's going to hate a lot of this, but maybe if I bring it down. But this one to me is a lot more of a gray hue to it, that sort of rubber gray, than it actually is a normal black. But again, flat colors right the way through. So if we pick up some colors I know we're all going to know, this is the olive drab. So again, it's one of those things. Olive drab tends to be one of those colors where there's lots of different versions, as we know. So take your pick from that one. It looks pretty much what it is right the way through. Just thinking, what else colors have we got down in here that are going to show particularly well on here? Let's have a look at the red, because reds do struggle as markers because they tend to go a pink color. But again, you can see how well they actually cover. And to be honest, it's a really nice tip on these as you're doing it, but it'd be interesting to see how they dry. All right, in the meantime, over here, I've got a little bit of a test for it. So again, we've got some colors down in here. So I thought we could give this a little bit of a whirl with it and see exactly how it's going to go over the top of some of these colors, obviously, and in contrast. So what we've got is, let's pick out here, we've got down in here the old Dunkelgelb. All right, so it's roll 7028, and we're going to go over the top of some of these areas just to see what it's like over a painted surface. So as you can see, it's a little bit, it's showing through just a little bit. You can see sort of brush marks, but this is because you need to put in a good couple of coats. So if we just go over this entire area, you can see that's just one coat. So you are going to have to come over this a couple of coats. This isn't just like a golden bullet that's going to do it in one pass. So let it fully dry and then cover, and you can go again. All right. So there we go. That's that one. Then we're going to use this one here, which is a roll 8012. All right. So it's the red brown. So obviously it's around in this area as well, and it is quite pinky. But you can see it covers really well. And obviously I'm just using the flat, but you could use the edge of it as well. So you got it down in there. And then obviously be a lot more like the one we got down in here. So this is a RAL 8017. And when it's dry, you can go right up to the other colour. It's got good coverage right the way through. So you can see they work very well, but you are going to need a couple of coats. This isn't like painting with a brush and stuff like that. So again, I think by the time we let that dry, we should be okay with it. The big test is obviously always going to be your whites. Now, these don't have a ball in here like the Posca pens do. So the Posca pens, that's not a Posca pen. These have got a ball inside them that mixes the paint internally. Obviously, these are doing different sizes from massive markers right the way through to the fine one. And again, these ones don't. All right, so this is just the white. So I'm interested to see how well the white's going to coat over colours, to see how much pigmentation it's got. And again, I think a couple of coats, you'll be absolutely fine with it. So again, you're going to need multiple coats just to go through. I should think 3 coats will cover it, but again, they do cover surprisingly well. So that white's done quite well on that as well. And again, you've got some funky little colours in here. So we've got like a gunmetal, which who doesn't like a gunmetal? So again, it's literally colouring in by numbers. All right, and again, they're covering everything very well. You've got brush marks in it, but they are covering. And I think by the time it's dry and you come in with second and third coats and things like that, you'll be fine. So what I want to try is, that's the gunmetal. So now what I want to try is, I want to just try, this is the aluminium. All right, so that's actually quite a nice finish. It's a nice colour. Again, brush marks, but, and then, so that's your dark aluminium, and this is your light aluminium, which is more like a normal traditional silver. And you can blend them if they are wet. So we'll try and give an area here. So for instance, on this tail, I'll try and do this to show. All right, so if you get your markers, and again, it's got to be done quickly so they're wet. So if we go, we back color this area here. So this is all like this, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to come in with a nice swoosh like that. Then we come in with the dark, and we go blend them in. They will soften together. All right, so we've got a nice softened line, but you've got to do it when it's wet, and it will literally just, it won't blend deeply into each other, but you can get a soft edge. I know one of the things people were talking about with these is that, well, it's no good for soft edge camo. Well, if you imagine if that was green, if we had, which we don't, but if we did have, you know, a brown and a green REF colors, you can see how you could just do camo work and it will blend together. So you could easily go around and do it, or you can do it the old fashioned way. So obviously this one's drying up here now. Once they're dry, you can, or hopefully can, just come in and put a nice hard edge into them. I do it literally like that. So again, faded as long as it's wet when you do it, or you can do it once it's dry and you're good to go. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So again, if you are a modeler, and that's assumed you have real trouble with airbrushing and painting in general, this could be a really good way out, you know, a really good answer to you. All right, so we got those. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to pop back over here. Now these are drying, and we give these a second coat. As you can see, it's drying pretty nice. It's still a little bit damp, but we're just going to risk it, and we're just going to go right over it again. And you can see that's coat 2, and it's drying in and coating very, very well. So let's try this one up here. And again, I'm no means an artist, as you can all clearly see, but I'm sure if you were taking your time with this and you were brush stroking, you'll get a far nicer finish than I will ever get. And again, using a little bit more of the side of the brush. You can see just how well these cover. All right, so again, we'll let that one dry as we go through. All right, so looking pretty darn good on those ones, as you can see. You know, and again, from a little bit more of a distance, not being on top of it, you can see how this one's blending. So it's got a nice soft edge. We've got hard edges on here, no problem, as long as you let it dry. You can even see the white's looking nice. So we'll just give the white another coat, because we can see a little bit of colour coming through. So we'll just try and all right. And again, on camera, it might just be whiting this out. You can't see it too well, but you can see it does look like they're working well. So the other test I want to give it is, and I don't want to talk about other brands, but another brand that I've been using is the Display ones. And this is one of the Display ones, but I just want to do a quick side-by-side check with it. So this is their black. It's got a softest type of tip on this, but it's really nice. And my members will know this because I've been doing it recently. But if you take a little bit of water and a brush, I can find a brush, you can thin this into a really nice wash. And I've been using it like this, and it's great because you can actually use it for a wash for panel lines and details and things like that. And it works very, very well. So you can just come along with this stuff and you can literally, like you would use a traditional oil wash, you can use it as a acrylic version that flows just as well as an oil. And I really do like it for doing this type of work because it literally just works very, very nicely. But as you can see, you can pop it in here, you can find details. And again, the great thing about this is that it does come off. So you can literally, just as you would an oil, over your model. And it's great because it dries really, really quickly. It'll give you a nice finish. I assume that's dry, so let's try it. You can put it right over the top to weather and things like that. All right, so this is by using the, obviously the DSP version of this. So what we'll do is we're going to take the flat black and we're going to just do the same. So put it down on here, grab a little bit of the water. Brush is clean. Yeah, you can do exactly the same. So it's really, really nice, and hopefully it won't grab, as you can see. So it should be fine. And again, we can try it over on here. We just find somewhere. Speeds up a little bit more, but generally it should give us that same effect. All right. So yeah, I think it could be used as a wash as well. And again, once it's dry or drying, you can just pop along and you can clean it up. Okay, so yeah, looks very, very good. As I say, my only real issue with this is the colours. There's nothing wrong with the actual pens, the way they work and everything else like that. I know Matt's done a tank with one. You would have seen it on some of the live shows. He literally just had a bit of play with one, ended up repainting a tank with them. Really, really nice. How long they last, I don't know either. That's a bit of a variable with these things. As I say, I've been using the DSP ones for a few weeks now and all the rest of it, and they're still going. But yeah, so that's the thing. So you can thin these down. It is a true acrylic. It doesn't matter, just with a little bit of water, you'll be absolutely fine with them. These are all touch dry within, I would say, 5 minutes. Literally, you're good to go with the next coat going over the top. And as you can see, once you've got a few coats going, it's getting really solid in the colours. You don't get as many brush marks in. I think by a third coat on these, we should end up with something looking pretty, pretty good. Again, but just one coat, you're always going to get those brush marks. But with a few in there, I think you'll be all right. So do I think this is going to be the end of paintbrushing? No. Because again, there is a limitation to this. It is got that colouring in feel with the tips. I think if you put on 3 or 4 coats, you'll be fine. And because it's really, really thin, you could put 10 coats on. You're not going to lose surface detail. What I really think these will come into their own for is for little jobs. So cockpits, wheel wells, ammunition things, interiors of tanks. As I say, I've been using basically Posca pens in different vises. I've got the tiny thin ones and the big ones as well. There's reviews up on that in different ways for years, absolute years. And they're great for picking out switches. The only trouble with these is the tips of them are quite big. They're a lot bigger than obviously if you're using a 0.7 on a Posca pen, for instance. So if you want to be doing individual switches, Posca pens are brilliant for it. This, I think, is a little bit clumsy. This is designed for the next size up. So I'm thinking broad areas. So if you were doing an instrument panel, a wheel, we've all seen the video of them doing wheels and cows and things, you know, so things like that in that type of size I think are absolutely fine. If you want to be doing details on an instrument panel, you're probably still going to need something with a little bit more of a point on the end like the Posca pens have. But for general stuff, putting it down, absolutely, I think these will be fine. And to be honest with you, I didn't use these, but all the wheels and the interiors and everything on this little guy that I'm just working on at the moment were all done with pens. And as you know, if you've been following along with that as well, the entire inside of that one was done with pens. Unfortunately, I didn't have these pens at the time, but I imagine they will work just as good as anyone else's will do. Also with these things, as I said before, the other test I just want to give them is the old scratch test, as I call it. So what I would do is, as I said before, when these dry, it'd be interesting to see how they dry. If they dry nice and smooth or they sort of huddled together and they don't spread. But again, that would be a separate test for after the show. But what I will do is the scratch test. So these have been down there for a few minutes, as you can see. So what I like about the DSP and the Posca pens is if you want to do cleanup, you can just come along with a cocktail stick, for instance, like we're talking canopies and things, and you can scrape clean them. And you can with these as well. So you can actually scrape clean. So if you imagine you've done a canopy, i.e. something like this, which was done this way. All right, so again, just do the lot and then scrape clean it all afterwards. So you can just put your lines in exactly where you want them and you can scrape them out of the way to clean them out. So again, as you can see, once these are dry, they're great. It's not like a lacquer where it won't come off. These ones you can simply scrape clean for doing it. So if you've got clear parts, you can just paintbrush this all over it and then scrape clean it as I've done with this little guy. All right, so it saves a lot of masking time as well. So again, from a point of view of it, once it's gone off, it's tough, no problem at all for handling, but you can scrape clean it away. So again, if you're thinking about chipping, so if you've got an enamel or a lacquer base coat of metals, put this over the top, you can easily scratch through this stuff to show chipping and various things. So again, another good thing for it. So weathering, thinking like things like props. So if you've done those a base coat of metal, you could use a Posca pen, literally, or sorry, your AK pen, I should say. Put the black over it and then chip through it. Really, really straightforward. Very, very nice. And again, I don't think there's a time limit on these because they are a true acrylic. So what do I think about them? To be honest with you, they're working just as good as all the other manufacturers I've used. So I've used Posca pens over the years, and over the last few months, I've been using the DSP range of pens. And again, I can't really see much difference. From a point of view and brushing, the trouble you get with the Posca pens on the bigger versions of them, which I've got here, they have a tip on them like this, which works really, really well. Well, it should do once it's awake. This is obviously needs waking up yet. But the trouble is these are very, very fibrous, so they flick. So if you're doing tiny little details in a cockpit and you catch it, think switches, circuit breakers, it flicks the silver everywhere. All right, so that's not brilliant with them, and the black does it as well. The Posca pen, those, they do come with a very, very fine nib, so it's great because you can just do little tiny things with them. All right, so you can literally just put a dot wherever you want a dot and it will do it. All right, whereas obviously with something like these, to do a tiny dot like that, you've got to be very precise, and that's probably as dotty as I can probably do. As you can see, there's a size difference. So again, that's it. But for broad areas, absolutely no problem at all. You might just need something a little bit smaller to do the detail work, as we said with the Poscas as well. So that's it. So there you have it. I think they're great, especially if you struggle with hand painting, small little jobs like that, then these are an absolute game changer. Also, if you're suffering from airbrushes, i.e. you can't airbrush because of the smell, obviously, again, if you're using enamel paints and stuff like that, then, you know, and you have problems painting, this could be a nice little earner on this one, a game changer. And this is drying very, very nicely here. And I think with a third coat on this now, as you can see, it's not too bad at all. It's a little bit in there, but I'm wondering by the time you perhaps put another coat over it or something else like that, if you got a can or something and just put it over it, I think it might be all right with the clear coat. But yeah, your only problem is this, the brush marks, the dreaded brush marks. But again, if you want soft edge camo, it can do it as well. It will go through. So really what we're saying, go out and get them. They're fantastic. You don't have to buy the full set. You can just go out and get the individual ones. I would be a lot happier if we saw some standard colours, a standard neutral grey, perhaps a light ghost grey would be a very handy colour to have, and obviously a lot more US modern colours as well as REF colours. That would be very nice if we had some of the REF ones, just like the REF green, the REF browns, perhaps the greys and things like that as well. So it'd be nice to see if they actually do expand this range. From what I can tell in the popularity of it, I should think we may see some other colours coming down in the line, and I'm really, really hopeful we do. And perhaps this is just the first one, some standard colours and a lot of German stuff, and in the future we'll see something perhaps more modern colours, NATO colours, things like that as well, because that is what I need as a modeler more than I need these. Anyway, that's it. That's the AK marker pens, an absolute must.